Powered by Riverside FM.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Unscripted from Real to Real. I'm your host, Jay Hill. Had a little bit of a hiccup, actually. I had to update things. And, of course, I'll know that when we update things, especially computers, that like to be a little difficult. And so the update didn't quite well with my other stuff. So, having said that, we have a great guest. She's a friend of mine. I've known her for a few years. She's been on a couple other my other shows. Kelly Schaefer has also a host on my show with her, so she knows her. I have my other hosts have talked to her, so she's just a fun person to talk to, and she's got a great story about her ghost town in Montana. So, Karen Broussard. And there she is. It took me a minute, but yeah, nothing can really ever go easy, especially when you're doing a live. I mean, things kind of happen and whatnot, but
Yeah,
me.
technology.
Yeah, yeah. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. It's been a while since I talked to you last, and you had a couple seasons of Ghost Town Terror under your belt from the Travel Channel, and it's been about 2 years since that came out?
Yeah, it's been about that long.
Yeah. So how is your business doing now? Because I know that there was a time where you were worried that you were going to lose this ghost town, and by the grace of God, you got it. And I was so happy to hear that.
That was some pretty dicey days that we had there. We have recovered. I don't think we'll fully recover for a while because we're still getting backlash from the show, and there are still those people out there that took every word as gospel, and it doesn't matter what we do, what we say, we just are never going to convince them otherwise. So we still have that obstacle, but we're just doing. I can't spend time worrying about pleasing everybody, and so
right.
Let's just move on. It's a new day.
Right. So you've done quite a few updates. I've seen some pictures. Things look really good.
Yeah, we have.
You've got. I see. Have you added horses?
Yeah, we have been adding horses. We've wanted to start offering trail rides actually ever since we bought the place. And, unfortunately we bought it and then we got hit with COVID. So I was really glad that I didn't buy a bunch of horses back then, because that would have been just devastating. Right. So, we just kind of wanted to get things to balance out a little bit. And we're finally in a position to be able to do that. And so we have been very diligent in finding some really good horses that we can, feel comfortable with offering trail rides for our guests.
Mm-hmm. You have a new podcast.
We do, yeah.
Yeah. So I remember you messaging me a while back asking my advice on some things, and I never heard back from you, so I didn't know if you had gotten it up. And then I reached out to you the other day. I said you had it up, and how is that going?
It's been a lot of fun. that was something that we wanted to start. It was a couple years ago, I think, when I first talked to you about it. And, and then unfortunately, I have not been very well the last couple years, and my health just was not going to cooperate enough for me to be able to add on anything else at the time. And it's probably still not, as you can tell, I still am recovering from throat surgery. So my voice is not back 100%, but we kind of just figured that, there's no time like now to get it up and going. So Spirits with Spirits, Ghost Talk at Gunslinger was born. And I think we have our 4th episode going up tomorrow.
Nice. Yeah, once you get into that whole thing, once you get started, and then it can be kind of addicting. It kind of be like, hey, this is really fun, and I like telling stories and talking to people, and yeah, I mean, it's one of those things for me is why I have several different podcasts, but this one I just came up with a couple months ago. I just wanted to be all encompassing and talk about everything.
Sure.
So talking to you about the bed and breakfast, the Gunslinger's Gulch, and which ever since when I first saw that, and I was just fascinated with the whole premises of how you purchase the property, and and having spirits come with it to boot, you know what I mean? And that's just one of those things where it's a bonus. I mean, for some people they might think that it's not a bonus, but people like you and I who have experienced in that area, it's a bonus.
Yeah.
It makes it a little bit more interesting. And you also film, there's a film crew that film movies there.
Yeah, we've done several movies, videos, music videos. It's been fun.
Yeah, so you're kind of putting your Gunslinger's Gulch on the map, so to speak.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's and why wouldn't people want to do a movie or a video there? I mean, the buildings are iconic, and it's just one of those things where if you could step back in time, why wouldn't you?
A piece of property that you're just not going to come across every day.
I agree. But yeah, I mean, it's just one of those where, when I watched the first season of Ghost Town Terror on the Travel Channel, it was different. It was, and to me, in my personal opinion, is not to say anything against the show itself, but I just think that the reality wasn't quite there the way it should have been. You know what I mean? But I mean, I think that there's a lot more there than they kind of tapped in on, and there's some good stories on that property as well. I mean, there's some great history with those buildings. It's not all doom and gloom.
No, but they had their narrative that they wanted to go with, and unfortunately it the reality of things that happen here. And what, I guess it came down to what sells shows, and they went with that. And so it was kind of a misfortunate situation. We provided them with a lot of information and documentation of various things that happen around here. And we've done a lot of research on our own, so we knew the reality of some of the history behind these buildings and whatnot. And yeah, demons were the thing, and so that's where they went. And they didn't consider the backlash that was gonna have on us
as a business.
Portraying us as this demon infested ghost town that
which is farther from the truth, and I was really upset in some of the aspects of what was portrayed, and I was like, that's and me being who I am,
Yeah.
You know me. We've talked about this, and I've had connections with actually some of your family members. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Your brothers, especially. And they were just like, why? And so it's like, gosh, it's so when I think of Gunslinger's Gulch and I talk to people about it, and I portray it in a light of it's like stepping back in time, and it's something that people can relish on.
Mhm.
People can get experience and kind of take it to heart and just be like, it's a good experience. People go through and looking for spirits and ghosts and whatnot. That's a normalcy, especially for the age of those buildings. But it's not all doom and gloom, and it's not something that you know. To me personally, is to be. Are there some different things in there that are kind of questionable? Sure, but that you can go down to downtown Chicago and find the same thing.
I find more doom and gloom and darkness in actual living people nowadays than I do
Oh
around me.
yeah,
I mean, that's just
I
the
agree.
the cold hard facts about life today. And
Hmm.
not everybody that comes out here will have an experience.
Right,
With the paranormal, you can't just flip a switch and everything's going to pop off and start
right,
happening. And
right, right.
90% of the people that are out there, they wouldn't know it if it stood up and bit them in the butt. They would just be like,
Right,
"Oh,
right.
I didn't hear that. I didn't see that."
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
for us, we're just like, yeah, that happened. You know, it,
Right.
it's
It's a
so
normalcy.
it's a normalcy for us, absolutely.
Yeah,
And so
yeah.
I'm not phased. Um, and
Right.
and the people who do come out regularly, they're not phased. They're always more interested in, will I be able to connect with what I connected with last time and be able to build on that,
Hmm. Hmm.
and
Yeah.
it's been a great journey, honestly. It's
Right.
been a lot
Right.
of fun.
Right. I mean, and you shared that journey uh, from the very beginning. I mean, when you were talking about how you got the property and whatnot and all the ins and outs, and we talked quite a bit. And I was, and like I said, I was so glad that you were able to acquire that property, and I just think that is a good fit for you. I mean, with all the animals there and the buildings themselves, and I mean,
Yeah.
you still have kids there, don't you?
Yeah, yeah, I've still got 3 of them here.
Yeah. See, it's a family thing,
We
you know.
haven't gotten run out yet.
Right. Right. So, how is how I keep wanting to ask you how the brothel is, how that saloon is, because for some reason I
Well,
keep seeing that there's got to be something's telling me ask about that, ask about that, ask about that.
and it's funny that you do, because lately there has been quite a bit of activity in the saloon.
Okay. Hmm.
And ironically, so the other day when I was getting things cleaned up and I was redoing the bar area, I came across a photo sitting up on the shelf, dated like 1932, Edward James.
Hmm.
And I'm looking at this photo and I'm like, I have no idea where this came from.
Really?
None at all. And we had an investigation up here a couple weeks ago. And it is not uncommon for people to bring, some trigger objects, or, they'll
Right.
just find
Right.
something cool that are like, yeah, this will totally fit in up there. But they
Hmm.
always let me know. And so I
Right.
asked my team, I'm like, hey, do you guys know where this photo came from? And not a single one of them had any clue. So Edward James is kind of a mystery. We don't know where he came from. Now, the weird thing is that my brother, who passed away just right before we moved out here, his name was James Edward. So I thought that was kind
Hmm.
of a weird coincidence. But
Coincidence? Yeah.
um, later that day, after I found the photo, I had come down. It was, I don't know, probably about 8:30 at night, and I was just like, I need coffee because I'm freezing cold, because it's Montana and we're getting another dose of winter.
Right.
And I walked in, went to the coffee bar, and I saw something out of the corner of my eye, so I turned and looked back towards the door. And coming right up behind me in the path that I took, there was this ginormous orb. I mean, we're talking, it was like basketball size.
Oh, wow.
Low to the ground, it came up, it stepped up to where the tables are, it turned towards me, and then it disappeared. And I didn't feel anything, but I just got the feeling like something just followed me in, and I don't know who it is.
Right.
So then I started thinking, oh, I wonder if it's anything to do with this photo, that now that I've discovered the photo and acknowledged it, maybe that's Edward. I don't know.
Right. Was it just did you put it in a frame, or is it just a picture?
It's in a little frame. It's just like a little, I don't know.
Yeah. I saw the picture, but I didn't know exactly how big it was.
Yeah, it's just a small little 3x2 or so photo. Almost look like a old school type photo because the background is like a library type setting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it just has this little paper frame to it, and
okay,
I
so
have no idea.
this is what I get, and it's been a while since when I interview people and stuff kind of comes to me here and there, but with you, it's like effortless. I don't know why, but it just does. But is there a library or an old library in town?
There is, yes.
Okay. In that library, um, somehow this gentleman or that picture of that, there's a connection to that library. Like,
Okay.
I could see it, like standing in front of the library is like me standing in front of the library. I'm looking at it going, the picture in one hand and library in the other hand. So there's a connection to that. Whatever that is, I'm not quite sure. I'd have to kind of dive in, but I could see the library, and
Mm-hmm.
it's an old building. So that's what
Yeah.
it's a really old building.
Yes, it's
And
very old.
so yeah, that picture has a connection to that library. So I'm sure that if you research that, it'll be an aha moment. You know what I mean?
And maybe, I might just have to take a trip to the library.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll take
Yeah,
James Edward to the library or
yeah,
Edward
there you
James or
go.
whatever his name is.
Right. So, but from what I'm gathering too, is that it was more or less he was the son of somebody important.
Okay.
That's kind of what I'm getting to, and there's just this important tie to the library. I don't know what it is, but he was an important son of somebody from the town itself.
Well, it's the Hearst Library, so lots of information on that family. So I will definitely do some research and see if I can find a connection.
Yeah, do. Okay. So before I dive in that rabbit hole, I'm not going to dive. I'm going to step out of that rabbit hole because it's easy for me to dive down in that. We're talking a little bit about the saloon, which, like I said, I guess that's why somebody said keep asking her about the saloon. I guess that was the reason why. Once I get these little like nudges, and then they get like harder nudges. Okay, so I did want to ask you about the building that was left on the property, which is the old post office.
Mm-hmm.
Remember that from 1923?
Yes.
That series, that Yellowstone series. So is that's still there, right?
It is still here. Yes.
Okay, so have you had activity in that building?
I have never done any investigating in there. It is right next to the church, so it would very possibly be
Kinda like a
something
bleed
to look
over.
at. Currently, it is being used as a brooder. I've got a bunch of baby ducks and geese and turkeys and chickens in there. Um,
Nice.
got to put it to use.
Right. Right.
Um, but even the church, I get quite a bit of activity, and it's literally like 30 feet, 40 feet from the church.
Mm-hmm.
And the church is one of those buildings that we just don't investigate. Um,
Right.
Primarily because we live there. I don't need to know
Mm-hmm.
anymore.
Right.
We have an understanding right now with what's there, and
Right.
we have learned to live together, and everything is great. I don't want to rock that boat.
Right. 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 And I could totally relate to that when I did my first podcast series for Studio 6 Paranormal Podcast. And I did it in a haunted, um, spirited boutique hotel. You know what I mean? And I did that
Mhm.
there for about a year and a half. And there were certain things that I was like, let's agree to disagree. Okay. I mean, just let's get along and not. There was a couple there that a few that I would say one that I showed respect to, and I just was like, yeah, I can't,
Yeah, you come
because
across those, and you just have to.
yeah, you just have to just accept it for what it is and say, okay, I'm not gonna antagonise you or make you upset, or I'm not gonna cause you to lash out. I'm just gonna
Yeah,
do my own thing. It's what
you
I
know,
it's what I did.
it's not it's not like a living person where you can pick your battles, and you
Oh
kind of
yeah,
know what the outcome could be with this scenario. I'm not going to rock the boat. It's like
right,
we're
right,
okay where we're at, so let's just leave it
right,
there.
right, right. Um, so what are what other experiences have you had as of late? I mean, besides the one that you talked about in the saloon, has there been anything else that is kind of like you noticing an uptick in things?
Well, yeah, the dugout building that we have that's kind of behind the saloon.
Right, right.
Um, and that
That
one
was my next
has
question. That was my next question on that building because that came to my mind. So I
that
was just going to ask about you.
yeah, that one has been very, very active. Um, you know, we've got quite a few things over there now that have accumulated. Um, Lots of toys and dolls and trucks and things like that, because we know that there are a couple of kids over there. And
Hmm.
typically, when you come across a child spirit, you don't ever want to trust that it's actually a child spirit, because
Right,
nine
right,
times out
right.
of 10, it's not.
It's not.
But
Right.
these ones have pretty much proven themselves that they are. It's
Hmm.
very, very consistent in all of our evidence that we've gotten. And it is just that one building that you can walk into, and it's just instantly just going to start popping off.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
and the last couple of investigations that we have done, it's been so active that literally, after being over there for about a couple of hours, we're all just drained, completely drained,
Right,
exhausted,
right,
and we're done.
right.
And I we used to be able to go till 3, 4 in the morning. And it's like, yeah,
Oh
let's
yeah.
just keep going, keep going. And maybe it's because I'm
Right.
getting old. I don't know, but there have been some nights where we have gone over there, and literally after like 2, 3 hours of doing any investigating, we're
You're
just
done.
so done. It's like I can't even lift my head up anymore. Yeah.
Right, right, right. No, and
Uh,
I get that too. Being in doing investigations, and I traveled down to Kentucky and did an investigation for an old funeral home, and
oh, that would be fun.
um, there were some things there that I had to kind of put the kibosh on because a couple of them weren't good,
Yeah.
and so I kind of like got rid of them, so to speak. But then kind of protected that place quite a bit where nothing happened. So I kind of overshot the mark, so to speak. So when I went there, it was I slept on one of the floor to the viewing room. I slept on the floor. Nothing happened. It was no big deal. But that drive, it was only 6.5 hours, but it was that drive that was killer. Drive.
Yeah.
I'm like, gosh, I really can't drive far anymore. You know, and um, I went down to Waverly Hills. Same thing. I was wiped out after 2 hours of walking through that place. Totally wiped out. I'm like,
Yeah.
I couldn't. I'm like, I can't do this anymore. I can't
It's
investigate till
awful.
wee hours in the morning. I just can't. I'm not 25 anymore.
Right.
And I just. But so you learn when that happens. It's kind of like that old saying. When life gives you lemons, you make lemonade. So in that case, I would just say instead of doing it 8 hours, I would do it in 4.
Yeah.
You know,
You just
and
can't push yourself when you get to
you
that state.
can't. No.
It's kind of like drinking, anymore. It's like, man, it takes 3-4 days to recover, and that's the paranormal hangover is real, and
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
takes
yeah.
days
Yep.
sometimes to recover when you get into a situation like that.
hmm Oh, I agree. Talk a little bit about how the business is doing itself, the bed and breakfast. I mean, have you had some? I've read that you've had some great reviews, and people really have taken a shine to some of your buildings and the events that you host. Mystery
Yeah,
dinner,
yeah,
was it murder mystery dinner? And you guys have investigations, and so you're active with this. It's not just a B&B. It's a whole experience.
it is. Yeah, and you can make it what you want. You can come on an off weekend when there's nothing going on for those that just want to escape and have peace and quiet, or you can really make it a destination weekend and participate in some of our events.
hmm
We're definitely leaning towards more events this year and going forward than we have in the past. We've got our murder mystery dinners, which are always a lot of fun. And this year we took that one step further and we opened it up to a murder mystery trail ride. So
hmm
everyone's hauling in their horses and going to be on horseback and finding clues along the trail. It's kind of set up like your standard poker ride, but
Right.
we sold those out real fast. And yeah, that's just, it's kind of where we wanted to go, just do more, big event type things. And, we've got like a cowboy poet night coming up. So we're doing a picnic and poetry night. And then we've got, our investigations that we do. And yeah, we're
Right.
just trying to
So
keep
you guys,
busy.
you have camping there too, where people can camp, or
Yeah, yeah. And then we just put in like, I don't even know, 25, 26 uh, new horse paddocks. So for horse camping for people who travel with their horses.
nice,
Yeah.
nice.
So,
So if you actually go back and think about how you started all this, would you think that you would be where you are talking about doing all this stuff today?
mm, no, no. Because initially, the whole intent behind it was to just run it as an Airbnb. We really hadn't any direction or idea as far as like events and things like that.
Mhm.
And then we kind of slowly started adding, our investigation nights. And And I think it was probably 2 years, 3 years in before we even started offering, the murder mysteries, just because we were just looking for, other fun, group community type activities that people could enjoy.
Hmm. Hmm.
And so who knows what I'll come up with tomorrow.
Right, right. Do you do a lot of advertising, like local advertising, or is it just mostly social media?
I pretty much do all of my advertising on social media.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
There's not this big, huge sign coming off the highway that says "Come
No,
to Gunslinger."
no, no
That would be cool,
billboard.
though.
It would be cool. Yeah, it would be cool. I don't even have a sign at the road,
Really,
and for a specific reason is, we get a lot of people coming up here as it is, looky
a
loos,
lot
like
of gawkers.
crazy. Yes. And so we don't even have a sign down there because we really don't want to make it easy for people to find us.
Right,
And, I get multiple cars a day of people coming up and, unfortunately, they don't really have any respect for the fact that this is also my home.
hmm.
So it's like, no, you can't just come up whenever you want and start walking
So,
around.
do you have a private property sign down
I
there?
have had multiple signs, and unfortunately, they disappear.
Really?
Yeah. So once we're just about finished with all of these horse paddocks and the fencing and whatnot that we're doing, and we are putting in a new gate,
Hmm.
that our guests will have the code for, but the average person coming up is not going to be able to gain access, and unless we're doing a public event, or you know we're doing a farm tour day
Right,
or
right,
something like that. But
right, right. That's
it's
I guess that would be frustrating,
yeah. Well, and we have had to go on and put, open to registered guests only, on our Facebook page and in my Google listing and things like that. And, they don't read. They
No.
don't read. And,
Mm-mm.
and I wasn't born yesterday. So when people say, "Oh, I saw you on TV," I didn't know that, people actually lived here. It's like, well, if you saw us on TV, then you would know that we actually live here. You just thought you could come
Right.
up, you know?
Right,
And,
right, right,
I do work another job as well, and I work night shift. So
right.
when I'm gone for 12, I do 12-hour shifts. And when I get home at, 7 o'clock in the morning, um, I just want to go to bed, and it never
Right,
fails. It
right,
never fails. I just get myself down into bed, and all of a sudden I'll hear something, and I look out and I'll see cars, slow rolling, through town, and
right.
people getting out, and they're gonna go pet the animals, and yeah,
Really?
it's like, come on, people. I know you don't know my schedule, but it's 8 o'clock in the morning
Right,
and I want to go to bed.
right. That's crazy. Well, I mean, I guess it kind of goes with the territory in that, I mean, it is, it's great for history's aspect. I mean, I'm sure that not everybody are having nefarious ideas, but it's just rudeness, and
Yeah. Well,
but yeah,
especially, like we've had people come rolling up here at like 12:30 at night. And, you know, when we get woken up, we go out and we're like, "Hey, you need to leave. You're not supposed to be here."
right.
Then they go on like Google and they'll leave a bad review. "Oh, those people are rude. They chased us out of there, blah, blah, blah." But they forgot to mention that, yeah, it was almost 1 o'clock in the morning and you came rolling up here with your big old truck and your
And
buddies,
you're not a
like,
guest, and you're
and
not
it's
a
like,
paid customer either.
exactly. So it's like, yeah, of course I'm going to tell you to leave. But they leave out a lot
Hmm.
of details, so it makes it look like it's us that's, I don't know, Jay. I just can't
Yeah.
win. I just
No. You
I
can't.
I
But
just
I
go
mean,
with it.
as far as the business goes, you guys are doing good then.
We're just at the beginning of the season.
Right.
We always shut down pretty much from November through March, April. So
Right.
May is kind of like our just getting going for the season type month. And it's a little soft this year, but the the travel forecasts right now are soft.
Hmm.
Our economy is still not all that great, and gas prices are freaking people out, and I get it. So, we know that it is going to impact us this year, which is unfortunate, but that's also why we're trying to add on a lot more day type activity and excursions
Hmm.
because that's kind of where the trend is going. People may
Right.
not
Right.
may not be able to go and travel, but they're still looking for something to do.
Right.
And so we're looking at bringing in, we talked earlier about the trail rides, and we're going to be
Hmm.
doing some farm tour days. So that way, those people that want to come see it can come to those designated times. It doesn't mean they can come an
Right.
hour later. Uh,
Right.
and then, we've added more murder mysteries and then the horseback murder mysteries. And then we'll be doing a pumpkin patch and corn maze this year. So
Oh,
uh,
nice.
finish off the year.
Oh, that's cool. So yeah, I mean, and as far as from what I understand too, and I know that with the gas prices being what they were, but they were like that 2-3 years ago. You know, and
Exactly.
it happens. You know what I mean? So I mean,
It
I
happens,
and
and
yeah.
it really doesn't cost a whole lot more. I just had some people from Kansas come out, and they decided to use a different vehicle than they normally would. And then she started thinking about it. She's like, you know what? When I think about the cost, she goes, it really only added like $56 in gas to
Right.
my bill.
Right.
And I would have
Right.
been a lot more comfortable in my vehicle versus this one. So I'm like, so it's not that
Right.
much, but I get it. I don't like filling my gas tank
Yeah.
either.
Right. I mean, I get it, but and I tell people this too, and they don't believe me, and and I say it, and I'm not predicting anything, but I feel that it's not going to last like that. It's not going to be astronomical where we're paying $10 a freaking gallon of gas.
Yeah,
I mean, people can say, oh, it's going to be this and that, and it's going to be terrible. It's like we've had worse times than this. You know what
exactly.
I mean? So, I
And
mean,
it's
gas
just something we
prices
got
go
to
up.
get
I mean,
through.
right, right. Instead of bitching about this or bitching about that, let's just get through it. You know. So yeah,
Exactly.
I remember when gas was 98 cents.
Oh, yeah.
Used to put a 98-cent gallon of gas in my Chevelle. Yeah, and I could fill my tank up with $20.
Yep.
And I was happy. You know, but yeah, I mean, it's just
Never see
times
those
have
days
changed.
again,
Just like
but it sure would be
technology.
nice.
Right, right. But when we were talking about technology earlier a little bit too, that I was having issues with my Wi-Fi and whatnot. It's like the technology aspect of everything is changing, and you're in a
Mhm.
position now where you are out in the sticks and
Yeah.
with this small ghost town, and you're far away pretty much of everything, not super far but far enough, but
Yep.
yeah, technology, when we first talked, I mean, it was rough because you were using your phone for the internet access when I interviewed you the one time.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Well,
So the way, with the whole Starlink, kind of saved you
love
guys.
it. Absolutely love it. It's
Yeah.
definitely been a
Right.
game changer for us out here. Anybody
Right.
that is
Right.
remote and rural, they should definitely consider it.
Right. What do you? Can I ask what the average pay is for that? I mean, what do you guys? What do they charge you to have that out there?
To have Starlink out here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, it's like 120 a month. It's not that bad, and it's unlimited.
No.
Versus
Right.
the
Right.
alternative that I had is like $200, and I get like 50 gigabytes or some ridiculous low amount.
Oh my gosh.
Because that was the only alternative that we had at the time.
Right. Right.
So
Yeah. I mean, so like we said, technology is is always advancing and whatnot. So there's always going to be that. Things change. Gas prices change. Technology changes. I mean, we're in the age of everything's changing. I mean,
yeah,
back in the day when we were young, in that sense, we didn't have cell phones. We didn't have that whole.
and we
I got to
lived,
call my mom to pick me up.
and
you know,
we're still here. Yeah, and
right?
as much as technology advances around us, that's what's kind of a real nice allure to this place is that time stands still. So
Hmm.
you can come out here and just completely disconnect.
Yeah.
Or you do have those modern amenities like internet. So,
Hmm.
you're not completely cut off from civilization, but we still don't have TVs. We don't have TVs in our units or anything like that. You're not coming here to
Yeah.
watch TV, I hope.
Right. 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 I mean, yeah, I've been up, where I'm at in Wisconsin. I've been up north to when there isn't any signal anywhere. I mean, and I've been
Yeah.
up there and stayed up in a cabin, and I was like, yeah, I love that whole quiet and solitude and all that. I like that anyways. But
The sound of
yeah, I
silence
mean,
is wonderful.
right. The only other place that I experienced that sound of silence was in Tombstone.
Mhm.
Now
I can see it.
I I went down. I visited there a couple years ago, and it was at midnight, and it was completely dark, and I was walking down past the Oriental and down Allen Street, in the middle of Allen Street, and you could hear a pin drop. I mean, it
Yeah.
was like, beside the fact that I still have that tinnitus ringing in my ears, which I block out anyways, but I mean that sound of stillness was incredible. I've never
Yeah.
experienced that anywhere else, really, but there. It was
Yeah.
so quiet and
You
so
would be
it's
amazed.
still.
You would be amazed at how difficult it is for some people to accept it too. Some people
Oh yeah,
love
yeah, yeah.
absolutely the fact that there's just nothing. And then other people are like, oh my God, I can't stand the silence. It's
No,
like
I
you
would.
need to calm down.
Yeah,
You need,
I would.
you need to
I relish that silence. Yeah, I totally get that. But so talk a little bit about what you guys have. Is there any major big events that you have coming up in the next couple months before summer really starts?
Is there any what?
Big events?
Yeah, yeah. Well, we've got several. Where are we? We are at the end of May. So yeah, we have our first murder mystery trail ride coming up June 6th. It's going to be
Okay.
huge. Oh my gosh, it's going to be great. And then we have Cowboy Poet Night on June 12th. And June 13th, we have our regular murder mystery. And then on I want to say the 27th, we have another big paranormal event. And yeah, and then going into July, we've got another horseback murder mystery. And um, I don't think I have really anything scheduled for August yet. September, we have another one. We are looking at pulling a date for a music fest again this year. And, things pop
Hmm.
up all the time. I might not have something on the calendar today, but it doesn't mean I won't tomorrow.
Right, right. Well, and part of that is, being as active as you are, especially with you working at an outside job, you know, it's kind of like, keeping yourself busy to that. And this place is your relaxation, so to speak.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's your vacation because you love it there. You know, you've had great experiences there. I mean, probably met a lot of great people, and
Yeah,
it's just,
definitely.
it's been, if you look at it, I mean, if you look at it, it's more or less you took your vacation spot and made it your all-time spot. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Which I think
It's
is pretty cool.
it's my happy
Yeah.
spot for sure. And
Right. Right.
and sometimes, I want to be able to just enjoy that, and I don't want
Right.
anything going on.
Right.
Those
Right.
are, especially during the summer when things are, just busy and nonstop, go, go, go. When we get, 1 or 2 days where we don't have any guests coming in and we don't have anything scheduled, just to be able to sit out on your porch and just be like, oh, let it all,
Or even just walk down the main road,
and just
right in the middle.
enjoy my
And
style.
enjoy it. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's
And
great.
that
It's a
is,
great feeling.
yeah, it speaks volumes to people who can actually adhere to that and to absorb that energy.
Yeah.
And with you having as many spirits as you do in that town, in those buildings, and feeling that energy. So it's not, to me, it doesn't seem like a boring place, and
Yeah.
with all the stuff that you have going on, all the events, and with the horseback riding or the cowboy poets and all that stuff. I mean, that all that stuff is just, people want to get away from the hustle and bustle of the city. They want to go to a place like yours, and they want to be able to take in a pause. You know what I mean, and stop.
Yeah.
And
And that's a really good
it's
way
like
to
pausing life.
describe it. Yeah, is just take a
Mhm.
pause from life.
Mm-hmm.
You don't
Yep.
have to be going 24/7. Just
Right.
sit back and just
Yeah.
enjoy doing nothing for once,
Right. Right. And it look at it as people are always fast forwarding to the next thing that they're doing, and that's what I said. So if you just put it on pause,
Yeah.
you won't miss much, but you'll be able to gain so much more, especially if you're into the old Wild West and the buildings and even the paranormal, or even just horseback riding, or even nature in itself. I
Yeah,
mean,
just
that
to
for
enjoy
yeah.
what Mother Nature has given us, because it
Yep.
truly is just absolutely breathtaking country out here. And you
Right.
don't have to be go, go, go all the time. Sometimes what you really need to do is just grab your coffee in a lawn chair and just go sit in the field, you know,
Right. Yeah. Oh yeah.
and
Most definitely.
just enjoy what's around you, because most people don't have this where they come from.
Right. Right.
You cannot duplicate this environment or this atmosphere in the city. It just won't happen.
Right. Right. Well, Karen, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for coming on and talking
Yeah,
with
it's
me.
good catching up with you. It's been too
Yeah,
long.
it has. Make sure you check out the library.
I
And I'm
will.
sure you'll find out more information from there. But I want to thank everybody who tuned in to watch this. This will also be up on YouTube and anywhere you get your podcast. But having said that, I want to thank you again, and I want to thank everybody for tuning in. And we will see you again probably sometime next week. I'll have a new guest, and if you want to check out Karen and Gunslingers Gulch, you can check them out on Facebook, or you can Google them. Set up a time to go take a little vacation at Gunslingers Gulch.
Absolutely. Come on out and disconnect.
Yeah, disconnect and have a pause.
Well, here
All right,
comes the
everybody.
bad weather,
Thank
so
you.
it's a
Yeah.
perfect time to wrap it up.
Yeah. All right. There you go.
All right, Joe, you
Thanks,
take care.
everybody. All right.
Bye
Thank
bye.
you.